Good morning and welcome to the Live Company Group PLC investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted anytime by the Q&A tab situated in the right corner of your screen. Just simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to David Sitzlitera, Chairman. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
The floor is yours.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I have a short presentation which I'll run through, which I think will summarize where we are today, and I look forward to answering your questions with Sarah later. I think it's fair to say the first quarter of 2024 has not been what any of us wanted. We've basically spent all of the time during this period in ensuring that the company gets relisted. And I'm pleased, obviously, that we were relisted, but it took a lot of time. And I'd like to thank the team, both our advisors and also within the company, who worked unbelievable hours to ensure that we're able to do that. Whilst we've done this, I can confirm we've made additional cuts to our expenses and overheads. We've revised the strategies in certain departments and certainly reduced the upfront funding requirements for events. And as you would have seen from the recently published RNS, negotiated a lot of payments with our creditors. We have secured additional operational funding, which sees us through to the end of this year. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody for their continued support through these times. For those who may have felt I didn't respond to your emails or messages, I hope you understand that my focus was on the relisting and the restructuring. Looking to the second quarter, we're working on securing artists for the Frankfurt concert, pushing to get the Formula E back on the calendar in Cape Town in 2025, and securing new contracts for BrickLive. We've reached agreement, this is very important, we've reached agreement over the last, actually started in December, so 4 months, with 2 potential cornerstone investors. Not only are we interested in, both of these are not only are they interested in investing money into Live Company, but they're also offering to add new business opportunities to the group. We've signed one agreement with one investor, and we've agreed terms, and certainly imminently we'll be signing the second investor later today. Both investors have a timetable which takes us through to the 31st of May 2024, so they've obviously got their own due diligence and other things to do, but it's very, very exciting for the company, and we will obviously choose which one to work with, but both of them add huge pluses to us. Moving forward, can I change the slide? BrickLive. This has obviously been our business for several years now, and I'd just like to give you an update on where we are there. So can we change the slide? We've got 20 tours booked already for this year, and 6 of these are either in situ or en route to being constructed. This will be obviously the most profitable area of the business this year, and here are some examples of things that we've either signed or are doing. We've currently just agreed terms to take 2 tours to Israel, and there's Animal Paradise will be coming to Tel Aviv. We've got British activities here, which you can see. If we go to the next slide, please. This is the current list of signed contracts that exist in 2024. We've run a BrickLive show at ICC Wales, which was a huge success, and it looks like there will be another one coming in the fourth quarter of the year. So if we move on from the next slide, please. This is just something from ICC Wales, which obviously was a success. A lot of people came, and we had no risk. We were paid a fee to bring the show to Wales. Next, please. Then we talked about the KPop Lux super concerts. Obviously, we ran a show in Madrid last year. We had a show that was cancelled in London in September, but we're now working towards the future, which means a show in Frankfurt. We have the dates of the 2nd and 3rd of August booked in the venue. Obviously, Germany is going to be extremely full this year because they're running the European Football Championships. So we're in the same stadium that obviously is one of the host venues earlier in the year. So we've got football, the Olympics, and hopefully we'll be doing our own K-pop show in Frankfurt. Moving forward, there's just some images from Madrid last year. We've just recently agreed to move the venue. After 10 years at the Sartre Gallery, we've moved to what is the Camden Town Hall. You can see the image there. And if we move on to the next slide, please. This is the image you can see, which close to St Pancras. It's 10 minutes away from Frieze, which is obviously the same week. And Live Company has retained just under 20% shareholding in StartArt Global. So if we move on to the next slide, I think this is that. Move again, please. We are busily looking at the events that we are hopefully going to be running in South Africa and around and other parts of the world. I'm pleased to say that we are quite well down the line in negotiating for the return of the Cape Town E-Prix in 2025 and beyond. There'll be further details will come after that later. So next slide, please. This next slide, I'll pass you to Sarah on this slide, please.
Thanks, David. So obviously there was a lot of information in the previous, in the final RNS just upon relisting, and maybe some shareholders didn't manage to digest all points. I'm just going to give a little bit of a high-level summary here. As was announced, there was a convertible loan that David supplied, totaling 1.77 million, and 1 million of which is support for the company to continue until January 2025. There are two convertible prices, so one is at 3p and one is at 6p. The 6p is for 250,000 and the remainder is at 3p. All of the non-executive directors have agreed to take outstanding payments up till the end of 2024 in the form of shares at 3p. Many of the creditors have agreed to accept payment in shares at 3p, and others have agreed to delayed or staggered cash payments. We're able to raise just over 600,000 in working capital, and many of the shareholders that subscribed are on this call, so we thank you for that. 250,000 of that came from David, and the average price for, if you look across the convertible and the subscriptions, was around 3p. As David mentioned, we've been in negotiations with two cornerstone investors, one which has signed an agreement. The other we're very close to signing an agreement with. It's very imminent. All the terms have been agreed, and we look forward to announcing to the market in due course once we have further details to give to you. It's obviously very difficult to divulge information without triggering any AIM consequences. So, you know, we appreciate that things have been quiet as far as communications are concerned, and for that we really apologize, but it's very difficult to negotiate deals that could cause further suspension or reverse takeover in front of AIM. So we've kept those negotiations very much under wraps for now, but we're so pleased that we've got two options at the moment, one already signed, one very close to being signed. So that's, I think, a good high level reminder of the key RNS points.
Thank you. So I think if people have any questions, now's the time for those questions. We're now at the end of the short presentation.
Perfect. David, Sarah, thank you very much for the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions just by using the Q&A tab, which is situated on the top right-hand corner of your screen. But just while the company take a few moments to review those questions that have been submitted today, I'd like to remind you that the recording of the presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. As you can see, we have received a number of questions throughout today's presentation. And Sarah, if I could just hand over to you just to read out the questions and share the Q&A, that'd be great, and then I'll pick up from you at the end.
Sure. So question coming in, please can we give more information on the business line that the Cornerstone will bring to the table? So David, I think you can give some general details here, but obviously, as I just previously mentioned, we don't want to divulge anything that will damage the agreement that we're currently signing. So maybe you can just give some broad level.
Yes, basically both of them involve a cash injection, obviously, and the cash injections in both cases are for new business, not the existing business, because we've raised money for the existing business. It's interesting actually, because I'm kind of conflicted. I like both of the proposals. One of them involves K-pop, the other doesn't. The other basically involves a new form of business that I think we could do rather well with. But we're going to have to work very carefully as a board to select who we go with. But the interesting thing is both Cornerstones are investing in us because they see that there is potential growth in value. And if I just generally say, apart from the money, apart from the businesses, the complementary businesses that they wish to inject, they're also injecting talent. Both of them would involve the appointment of a CFO at board level, and obviously we would only do that once we knew who we were working with, but they will also involve the bringing in of quite substantial executive talent. So whilst obviously we will continue to control the company, we will be doing it with some really quite clever people, I think.
Thank you. I think following on from that, David, some pre-submitted questions about what we think the company is going to be worth in 6 months' time. Now, obviously, we can't guide on share price, but clearly those shareholders, those potential shareholders or those Cornerstone investors are not investing for the share price to stay where it is.
No, I think that's something you and I have talked with them, and clearly they see a potential growth in share price. My investment in the last round of investment, I chose to actually put it the last time at 6p. So I genuinely believe in the growth and value of the share price of this company, and I believe that with the injection of one of the two Cornerstones, that you can never guarantee anything in life, but basically people are investing in the business to grow the business.
I'm merging a couple of questions because we've got quite a few in that are similar, but a question on CFO appointment and general kind of board composition. Do you have a comment on that, David?
As I've just said, we have just appointed an interim CFO because we are obviously in the process of doing the audit for 2023, and that needs to be completed. But we will be appointing a board seat CFO, but as I've said, that will be in conjunction with whichever Cornerstone we choose. In terms of the board composition, both of the Cornerstone investors want to add people to the board, and so the board will by default change.
Thank you. I think that there was a couple of questions about communication, which I think we've dealt with. So let's just bear with me while I look for some further questions. Question from Steve M. Is it not possible to move forward with the two investors, or they're mutually exclusive to each other?
I think they're mutually exclusive to each other.
Okay. Question on the EPRI in 2024 in Cape Town. How come we didn't do it in... Sorry. question on why we didn't do why we're not doing the E-Prix this year in Cape Town.
I think that's very simple. As you know, we are currently only a 14% shareholder of a company called E-Movement, which was the promoter of the race in Cape Town. They did a fantastic job. It was voted the best race for drivers, the best race for TV viewers, etc., etc. So if you ask the people at Formula E, they love the race. They definitely 100% want to come back. But I think it's fair to say we didn't pay everything we needed to pay, or the local company didn't. And the race happened because money was lent by Formula E. So basically, it's a question of investment and money, and I'm pleased to say that that's now, I think, going to happen. So we're just working through that, and hopefully there will be announcements before the summer.
Brilliant. Question from Liam. What controls will be introduced to make sure the company meets all its regulatory and accounting requirements in the future? Maybe I'll take that, David. We're obviously guided by our Nomad, and to be honest, it's been they've been extremely supportive, but it's been a long road to get the relisting, with lots of communication with AIM and with them. I think the interim financial consultant stroke CFO will help us with that process, and as we move forward with the cornerstone investors, having a group level CFO on the board, I think, will also help us. We've got a small team in place and are drawing skills from that small team to assist David with regards to the regulatory and accounting requirements as well. So we've made some changes, and while still being very conservative with our cash. So we believe that will help us going forward.
And I think it's fair to say we are currently on target for the 2023 audit, and we're very conscious of doing that in time. And obviously that's basically our financial focus in terms of the finance side of the company now.
Thank you, David. I'm just checking if there's anything further. Maybe I'll take this one. So there's a question on insiders with sensitive information are allowed to invest in other shareholders have been proud of that information. At any time when a share is suspended or where there's inside information, shareholders can elect to be made inside. It's a process. I take all the records, I record it, date, time, and you sign something that says that you will not divulge any information from we were very our set of shareholders that invested via subscriptions in the placing. We've announced several times that we're doing a placing, even back in October, November of last year. So there was plenty of opportunity, and within our shareholder group, we managed to get a number of additional subscribers. So there is a process, and we apologise if anyone was missed out of that process. But I think we did RNS that we were doing a placing, and we did announce that it was a CMC, our broker. So anyone that wanted to invest could have done so. Question from Roger: is the brick business making money?
The answer is yes.
Okay. What caused the delay of 7 months when it was only for 1 month with regards to the suspension?
I think that initially we all hoped that we would be relisted very quickly. We had changed our accountants, and the accountants who came on board wanted to be certain that everything they were reporting on was there. And I think suffice it to say that what should have potentially happened towards the year end then got delayed over the year end, and the last 2 or 3 months have been a very long process. We basically had to almost re-audit what we'd done the previous year. So it was a very long and quite expensive process to get this done.
Okay, I'm just seeing if there's anything else here. Do still bring in your questions, everyone. I think we've answered most of the ones that have come in now. Question on the gross profit margins for BrickLive. I mean, I don't have the exact figure to mind, but because a lot of the tours are obviously already made, there's the only costs really are shipping and some minor corrective work if needed on the models. David, you got anything to add to that?
Yes, I mean, we originally had a factory that employed over 40 people. We shut that factory due to COVID, and we have outsourced the repairing of the models to the original people that were in the factory. The actual number of people working for BrickLive, specifically for BrickLive, is just under 4, sometimes 3 to 4, depends on what they're doing. But we've radically trimmed the overhead of BrickLive. And Sarah's absolutely right. All the tours are made, and therefore the margins are pretty big. The reality is that, however, we are, in accounting terms, we have to work through depreciation. So when you look at the accounts, you have to take into account the depreciation of the models. But in cash terms, it's become what we originally hoped it would be, a cash positive generator for the group.
A couple more questions coming in. I think you sort of answered that, but let's just add to it. Do you envisage any growth in the BrickLive business, new tours, opportunities, etc.?
Yes, I do. I think that right now we've obviously got the tours that we have, and we're obviously making the most of what they are. But we have at least one new idea for creating a new tour, and we're looking, and that won't happen until towards the end of this year. But the dinosaur products have been tremendously successful and are always in demand. So there are areas that we want to add to as we go along.
What lessons have you learned from last year's issues? Question from Liam.
Well, I think that the first thing is that to ensure that any K-pop activity we deal with is the third-party funding is in place well in advance, and I think that was a big learning curve for us. The what happened in London, and I think going forward the first thing we're ensuring is that the company is never at risk. That's the first thing that's important. K-pop, as I'm sure many of you realize, has grown significantly over the last 12 months, but also the prices of the artists have gone up, and there's like everything that involves entertainment, there's always risk. And so my main theory going forward is to be not at risk and only be able to look at the upside, not any potential downside.
Question with regards to, is there anyone going to be held accountable for what happened regarding O2?
That's an interesting question. We are looking into that right now, and we have to decide how we're going to approach what happened. In terms of the costs, certain of the loans that I made, certainly the first set of loans I made to the company personally, have dealt with the issues of certain of the creditors. So I personally have taken responsibility for some of the third-party creditors.
Okay, thank you. Can you commit to increasing shareholder communications going forward?
Obviously, one of the things I've always tried to do is to give as much communication as possible. However, as Sarah's alluded to, we are going to be in negotiation over the next 2 months with 2 different groups, both of which have confidentiality clauses written into their agreements, and therefore it's very difficult to communicate sometimes. And certainly everybody's I'm sure, will want to know what's going on. I'm afraid that will be very difficult to do. In terms of obviously events and stuff, BrickLive, the K-pop show, we will obviously be updating the shareholders as we move forward.
Yeah, we appreciate we need to get more information out there on what's going on in the shows and so on. And now we've finished this relisting, we look forward to doing so. Question: How confident are you in LVCG becoming profitable in 2024?
I'm very confident in LVGC as it is now, with cutback costs and overheads and revenues that are easy to see being profitable. Whether it's going to be significantly profitable, that will depend on the injection of the cornerstone investor. But we have definitely turned the corner in terms of the problems that we had last year, and I'm very confident in both in cash terms and in terms of the end result of the year. So I'd just like to say one thing. We are also looking at appointing not a board member, but someone, a shareholder representative to sit on our board meetings who will be there. That's something that Sarah and I have been working on. And I think in the next sort of couple of weeks, we'll be looking to announce that person, because I think it's very, very important that we understand what our shareholders want, and also we need to be able to communicate backwards. Obviously, with the potential of a cornerstone investor, that becomes very important. And you will have noted that we've extended the warrant period by 2 years, because obviously the warrant, we've reduced the price to 3p, but quite a few of the shareholders still have warrants, and we wanted to ensure that they would be able to gain going forward.
Thank you. One cornerstone was a question from James. One cornerstone investor was mentioned to be K-pop related. If that was proceeded with, given the negative sentiment caused by the K-pop London cancellation with LVCG brand, how could this or would this be rebranded?
Well, everybody knows the thing about being public is that everything is in the public domain, and everything we do is in the public domain. When I talked about complementary businesses, in the terms of the cornerstone who's involved in K-pop, they bring a significant plus to us, and we bring a significant plus to them. So everybody's asked and understood what happened in London. So it hasn't put them off, and it certainly hasn't put us off.
There's one question with regard to the booking of the artists. I think this is to do with London. And can we expect any more last-minute K-pop announcements?
I don't think that's appropriate. We're just concentrating right now on Frankfurt. So that's basically something. And the show we've booked the show for August, so it's close but somewhere away. And you're right to look for announcements that will be happening in the relatively near future.
Okay. There's a question, and I'm not sure we can answer this, but just so that people know what's coming in, from Jamie: what industry is the other cornerstone investor involved in?
I don't think I can mention that, and both of them really.
But complementary, I guess, is
both complementary. They both play to our media knowledge, and they're both media-related companies.
Perfect. A question: how many shares are in issue now? Post the placing, I think it was 290 million. I'd need to just quickly look at the RNS. It was 259 plus 35 million, so around 293 million, I think it was. Less K-pop risk could mean less reward going forward. Can a competitor take that business more easily? Is there a USP?
I don't really understand the question, to be honest.
Could somebody else come and do the K-pop concerts, or are our relationships and potentially the Cornerstones relationships strong enough that we could do it again?
I think the reason to bring in a Cornerstone with K-pop knowledge and involvement is that that will help us expand what we want to do, the markets we want to be involved with, and I think it would certainly assist us in what we originally planned to do.
Thank you, David. There's no more questions coming in at this juncture.
Perfect. David, Sarah, what I'll do then is I'll just thank you for answering all of those questions from investors. And of course, the company can review all the questions submitted today, and we'll publish those responses on the Investor Meet Company platform. But just before redirecting investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to the company, David, could I just ask you for a few closing comments?
Yes, I'd just like to thank Sarah and the team that everybody, some of you have met, some of you don't. We've got a much, much smaller team than we had even 6 months ago. So those who are part of the team have done an amazing job to ensure that we are where we are. I'm actually quite excited. It's been a very difficult 6 months, and probably for the first time in 6 months, one's now looking forward. I'm really interested in the negotiations and discussions we're having with the Cornerstones, because every day we learn something new, and they learn something about us that's new, and I'm absolutely certain that the value of this company will increase. It's very difficult when you work with a very small company with very small number of people. I think the most exciting thing is that both of these companies are bringing additional talent, and it's that talent that's going to actually drive this company forward. And so I will be very happy to be working with people going forward.
Perfect. David, Sarah, thank you very much for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close the session, as you'll now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of Live Company Group PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation, and good morning to you all.
Thank you very much.